So what a weekend in the Championship. We've ended up having unpredictable results left, right and centre, and we are here today to discuss all of the weekend's action. So as always, get your thoughts in the comments down below as to what you made of your team's performance and the Championship in general this weekend. It was absolutely bonkers, as it usually is. Before we do hop into anything though, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors over at OneFootball. As always, you can find their link in the top line of the description down below. We now only have 9 games left of this Championship season, so if you're looking to keep up to date with everything that is going on in the final running of this Championship season, then OneFootball is the best place where you can go ahead and do that. I use the app all the time, especially on the match day when I'm looking to get live updates to my phone and all the latest shenanigans. We never seem to have a quiet week in the Championship, so like I say, OneFootball, link down below. And before we do hop into any of the individual games, I will include your guys' score predictions on screen now, so if any of you did successfully get any of your predictions correct this weekend, then fair play. And like I said, fair play if any of you did get them right this week, because it was such an unpredictable weekend with so many topsy-turvy results that it was quite a tough one in the end. So fair play to everyone that did get one, but without any further ado, let's hop into these games. So starting things out with Friday night's game, who saw this one coming? Nottingham Forest 0, Millwall 3. And in terms of the chasing pack going for the top 6 this season, Millwall actually found themselves on a really good run at the moment. Only one loss in their last 5 fixtures, and because of that, probably one of the most informed sides going for the top 6 at the moment. This result puts them just 2 points away from that 6th position now, and they were well worth their 3 points in this one. With Nottingham Forest, I'd say that this was a one-off, but it's not quite that with Forest. At the City Ground, they've had quite a few of these games so far this season. You know, earlier on this season, we had them getting battered by Sheff Wed. A couple of weeks ago, we saw them slip up against Charlton as well. And here again, through midfield, I thought Forest were really poor, and that's where this game was lost for them. I think the influence that Silva and Sow have on this team is undeniable. You know, you could see the quality in the midfield just wasn't there without them in this one, and Millwall completely ran through them. And it was Matt Smith who did steal the show for them. Forest were giving the ball away in cheap positions, but Millwall were able to take full advantage of that. First goal really well worked from Murray Wallace, as Millwall's fullbacks like to get really high. Brilliant ball into the box, and a diving header from Matt Smith was able to give Millwall the lead. From that point onwards, Millwall continued to attack down that left-hand side. I think it was Semedo who poorly gave the ball away for the second one. Bennett with some nice work. He pulled the ball back across to Malumbi. He had the shot, and then it just got a touch off Smith for a second, and the third one came from a corner. I said in my video last time that I think that Millwall, with their fixtures as well towards the end of the season, they really do have quite a favourable running compared to everyone else around them. They always have this consistent way of playing. It's just they're not always as clinical as they could be. They really were in this one. I feel like that result really has put out a statement. For Nottingham Forest, it was quite poor really. I can't pick out many positives, if any at all, really, from that performance. The only sort of saving grace being they've still got that bit of a cushion between the sides below them. And then we have Bristol City drawing 1 apiece with Fulham. Bristol City going a point closer to the top 6 this weekend. Ended up being quite a good game actually. Fulham had quite a few chances, a lot of them falling to Bobby Reid. It just wasn't his day up against his former club. On another day, probably could have had a hat-trick with some of the chances he had. He had a free header which just went wide in the first half, another one which was brilliantly saved by Meanpar, and the third in the second half where he possibly could have squared it to Mitrovic, but Meanpar was level to that once again. But it was Bristol City who took the lead. We mentioned it after they had completed the signing of Nahki Wells, that compared to everyone else around them, Nahki Wells could make the difference for Bristol City this season. He was able to get on the end of a corner which had been bounced all around the box. It was a bit of head tennis going on. Eventually it fell to Wells, and really well taken header. But after that, Fulham had a bit more impetus about them going forward. They were looking a little bit faster on the break, moving the ball forward, and eventually it was Tom Kearney with a brilliant finish from outside the box. Tom Kearney does not score tap-ins, bent it into the far post to the bottom corner. Brilliant finish from Kearney. And then right in the dying embers of the game, could Fulham have had a penalty? To be honest, I think it maybe should have been a penalty. The ball was swung in from deep. Meanpar came to claim it, got 2 hands on the ball but then dropped it. Tom Kearney then gets to the ball before Meanpar does. The goalkeeper then goes down to claim the ball, does get the ball, but I think he takes Tom Kearney out before he makes that contact with the ball again. So from that aspect, Fulham I think did have quite a strong shout for a penalty. Then Bristol City had one a bit earlier on the match, which was a bit odd. It was Michael Hector and Jeju tussling, and in the end Jeju's top ended up off him, so that was a bit bizarre. But the referee flagged neither of those up, and it did finish as a 1-1 draw. In the end, like I said, being a decent game of football. Both sides had other chances, but both goalkeepers were on good form for this one. And then we had Cardiff beating Barnsley by 2-0, a result which does feel quite damning for this Barnsley side, who are now sat bottom of the Championship, 7 points adrift of safety. To be honest, in the first half, it probably was the home side who just about edged it. They probably had the better chances going forward, although saying that, come the end of the game, they failed to register a shot on target. They had one which just went over the bar, one which went into the side netting. Cardiff didn't quite look to be on their usual game, but for the second half, that completely flipped around, and Barnsley came out like a completely different side. I'm not sure if they touched the ball inside the Cardiff box in that second half. Cardiff moving forward, we usually associate them with quite a direct style, pumping a lot of balls up, but the first goal was actually really well worked. Junior Hoylett cutting inside, shifting the ball over to the right wing, and then a couple of nice passing moves led to Will Vokes getting in. It was a bit of a sloppy finish in the end, but he'll take it every day of the week. That gives Cardiff the lead, and then a matter of seconds after that, really, it's all about game management for Barnsley, but Cardiff getting once again a long ball over the top, this time a bit more in the Cardiff style, gets into the path of Callum Patterson, and he's able to slot in for his 5th goal of the season. Both goal celebrations were quite interesting as well, but for Cardiff, even with them drawing as many matches as they have done recently, with this win, that now takes them up to within 2 points of the playoffs, so they are well within a chance of making it. The next 2 games are quite interesting against Leeds and Preston. If they come out of those 2 games with a decent amount of points, like say 4 points or so, Cardiff really could be up and running for the final few games. And then we had Reading beating Birmingham by 3 goals to 1. Now, it was Birmingham who started this one out as the better of the 2 sides. In the first half, they had the better of it and probably should have gone to get more than that 1 goal that they did go on to get. The first goal from Scott Hogan, everything he seems to touch turns into a goal at the moment. Quite a poor back header from Miazga. Hogan latched onto that and just managed to flick the ball over the goalkeeper. The second chance he has was probably harder to miss than that first one. Djukovic and Hogan linking up well. He gets in at the far post with the goal gaping, but he just skews the shot over the bar. And that tempo of the first half looked right for Birmingham. They were creating chances, and like I say, probably should have gone into half time with more than that 1 goal lead. But the second half was the complete opposite of that. They came out like a different team, and I don't know whether it's like fatigue playing into it perhaps, but Reading were able to capitalise on some quite poor defending in that second half. Miazga with the first, a brilliantly taken volley to make up for that error of the first goal. Mate with the second, the ball in from John Swift from a free kick. Swift with his 10th assist of the season, and the third to wrap it up from Pele. Absolutely brilliant run from midfield, showing that desire to get forward, and I didn't know he had it in his locker, but a brilliant finish from outside the box, tucked into the far post. Reading is such a bizarre team where when they are at their best, they can be so good. It's just because they've been so inconsistent so far this season that they find themselves in mid-table, but they've got so many good individuals in that team. With Birmingham, their unbeaten run is now over. However, what is absolutely mental is before this unbeaten run that Birmingham went on, they were 15th in the table. They then went on a 13-game unbeaten run. They've now lost 1 match, and they're now 16th in the table. The Championship is mental. Things didn't quite go for them in terms of some of the decisions in that second half of Birmingham, but there's no getting away from the fact that they were quite poor. And then we have Brentford 5, Sheffield Wednesday 0. This one was a complete non-contest, and normal service was resumed for Sheffield Wednesday in the league. There were some truly woeful individual performances from Sheffield Wednesday in this game, but before we touch on that, we have to talk about how good Brentford were getting back on track in this game, and this was just the sort of game that Brentford were in need of. After they themselves had gone a bit of a dodgy run in the league, they were back to their best in this one. The quick pressing football going forward, operating well in tight spaces, and as soon as the first goal went in from De Silva, Sheffield Wednesday were out of this game. There was no impetus from them going forward in this one, and Brentford absolutely tore them apart. The pick of the goals probably being the second one from Marcondes. Absolutely brilliant arrowing strike from outside the box into the top corner. Although all the goals that Brentford score have their own merits, they were so well worked. The third from Mbemo just before half time, it was about 4 passes that it took from Brentford to open Wednesday up from their box to getting into the opposition box. It was Tom Lees who was caught out for that third goal, and I mean, Tom Lees dropped an absolute disaster class against Derby last week, and after the mistakes he'd made in that game, and with Sheffield Wednesday defending fairly well for that game they had against Man City, you know, I thought they'd at least keep Wildsmith in goal and keep that same back line, but Monk tinkered with it again, and it was to their detriment. Brentford completely opened them up. In the second half, Wednesday didn't look like they were bothered really. The press was non-existent. That was shown by the 4th goal that Brentford scored, and then Foster wrapped it up late on to secure Brentford's 5th of the game. Absolutely sparkling from Brentford going forward. We all know they're capable of this, but Sheffield Wednesday really didn't help themselves. They were truly awful in this game. And in the big game at the bottom of the Championship, saw Middlesbrough taking full advantage, taking all 3 points thanks to a goal in the first half from Paddy McNair. The result does see Charlton slide into the bottom 3 of the Championship, and looking at their next fixture against Hull next week, that is absolutely massive for Charlton's season. What really let Charlton down for this game was seemingly the first half. I mean, they gifted the goal to Middlesbrough, a really poor one to give away. In a game with as much at stake as this one, the first goal was always going to be important. Purrington, under no real pressure, gave the ball away cheaply to Rudiger Said. He then rolled the ball into Paddy McNair, and then him with a really nice finish made it 1-0 to Borough. Going into the second half, Charlton had a bit more about them. They had a decent amount of chances that they probably should have done a little bit better with, but Borough were able to contain them well. Speaking about Rudiger Said, he seemingly has had an upturn in form out of absolutely nowhere since he's been able to get himself into the starting 11. He uses physicality really well for this one to lead the line for them. The result lifts them to 19th in the table, and is a massive result all things considered for them, as it is still so close down at the bottom. And then we saw Leeds go back to the top of the Championship with a 2-0 home victory over Huddersfield. Now, sometimes you just got to sit back and appreciate the football that they're playing, because it was an absolutely sparkling performance from Leeds in this one, and they could have had so many more goals. They took the lead after 3 minutes. What a goal from Luke Ayling. The technique on that goal, by the way, after it was clipped into him at the far post. For him to be able to have 2 feet off the ground to generate enough power onto it, but also keep the ball down, it cannons off the crossbar, and I don't think that many other right backs have got that sort of technique in their locker. But brilliant finish from Luke Ayling for the opening goal. After that, they continue to create chances. Jack Harrison almost scores an absolute worldie. Some brilliant build-up play from Leeds down the right-hand side. Ayling flashes the ball in, and Harrison has a volley which just fizzes wide of the post. In the second half, he came very close to scoring as well, but eventually it was Patrick Bamford back in the goals to secure all 3 points. It was a Pablo Hernandez free kick which was chipped in. Ben White had the initial header, great save by the goalkeeper, but Bamford was in just the right position to have the tap in. And like I say, Leeds going forward looked absolutely fantastic in this game. They could have had a few more goals really. And with West Brom dropping points this weekend, it does take them a point above them. After 37 matches, they're now on 71 points, and I mean, promotion is well within their sights now as well. You know, with Fulham dropping points this weekend as well, it was a very good weekend for Leeds United indeed. And then we had QPR beating North End by 3 goals to 1. A massive opportunity blown for Preston, this one, who actually started out the game really well. We were playing some good football. We had a lot of joy attacking down the right-hand side. It was Tom Barcusen up against Ryan Manning, and Tom Barcusen was skinning him every single time. You know, we switched the ball out wide quite a few times looking for the pace of Barcusen. He was causing all sorts of problems. QPR were quite sloppy on the ball in the opening exchanges. They were giving the ball away cheaply in some areas. Eventually, we did take the lead from the penalty spot after Donald Fisher was fouled in the box from Mark Pugh. DJ stepped up to take it and slotted it in. Before that, we had a good chance to take the lead. Sean Maguire, who hit the post from quite a tight angle. He also had a great chance in the second half, hitting the crossbar, and then he couldn't follow in the rebound. That one just sort of hit his face and went wide. But we were looking good up until when QPR equalised. It was a really poor goal to give away from a set piece. Eze with a brilliant ball into the far post. Andy Hughes, I'm not sure what he was trying to do really, got tangled in with Grant Hall, and then Hall gets a touch and makes it 1-1. After that, QPR then get a red card, Jeff Cameron, for a second buckle offence. You'd think that that would be the game-changing moment, and when Preston looked to then dominate the ball, have that composure about ourselves, and we go on to win the game from there. That wasn't the case at all. It was QPR who took over from this point onwards. I do think that a lot of credit has to be given to Mark Warburton with the way he handled QPR in the second half. Things weren't clicking for them in the opening 45 minutes. They were quite sloppy on the ball in midfield. He made 2 substitutions at half-time, bringing on Cher and Amos, and they completely changed the game for QPR. Alex Neil then tried to react to that in the second half. We went with a diamond for a little bit, and then we bizarrely went to this sort of 3 at the back system. We brought Scott Sinclair on, and then he started playing as a wing back, and for whatever reason he swapped the wing that Barcusen was on, despite having so much joy against Manning in the first half. And despite being down to 10 men, it was QPR after that point who had all the attacking impetus going forward, and 2 fantastically taken goals, you know, we're taking nothing away from them. You know, QPR are on a brilliant roll at the moment, and they've got a lot going forward for them. Hugo was of course causing all sorts of problems, but it was Manning with the second, brilliantly taken, bending shot with his left foot from outside the box, and then Eze with a real moment of quality from the counter-attack made it 3. Eze, I've spoke very highly about him throughout the season so far. He really showed his quality in this one. I thought he was an absolute gem, and probably one of the best players I've seen come to Deepdale this season. Our last 2 games that we lost against West Brom and Fulham, I could stomach those defeats, but this one, with how wrong Alex Neil got it in the second half, that was a really frustrating one. Then we had Stoke 5, Hull 1 in a crunch game at the bottom of the Championship. I couldn't believe the gap in quality between these two, considering that Stoke were actually below Hull coming into this weekend. They had complete free rein to do whatever they wanted to. Hull applied no pressure onto the ball in this one, and Stoke just waltzed their way through. Nick Powell opened the scoring after 11 minutes, and then when they got a penalty a few minutes after that, which Campbell tucked away, Hull were never getting back into this game. In their last 6 matches now, they've conceded 19 goals. That's an average of just over 3 goals conceded per game, and it's just not sustainable to go on like that. Looking at this starting 11 from Hull which came into this game, it would be an average League One team, if that, at the moment. And I know that they do have injuries, and that's not helped them, you know, especially Tom Eaves. That's been a devastating one, the couple of defenders they've got out at the moment. But the difference in the way the teams were set up tactically, the desire of them, and the quality on the ball in the final third, these two are absolutely miles apart. And Stoke have been good at home lately, and so they fully took advantage of this game here today. They went into half-time at 3-0, and then grabbed a couple more in the second half. De Silva Lopez did get one back for Hull, but that was nothing more than a consolation goal. The result leaves Hull in 21st, just 2 points above the relegation zone, but with them having Charlton next week, they could be in the bottom 3 come the end of it. So really worrying times for Hull. In terms of Stoke, really good performance. The only dampener on it was the injury to Joe Allen, which will see him out now for the rest of the season and the summer Euros as well, so that's a real disappointment for him. But overall, a top performance from the home side. Then we had a goalless draw going on between Swansea and West Brom. The result has meant that West Brom have slipped down to second in the Championship, but not the worst point in the world for either side. The point just leaves Swansea 3 points off the playoffs, so still everything to play for them going into the final 9 games of the season. There wasn't all too much quality in within the final third, but I thought that both sides defended quite well. Swansea especially, I thought they were always aware of the dangers that West Brom had going forward, and for that reason didn't really want to completely overcommit going into the final stage of this one and completely search for that winner. Joe Rodon, who I've been really impressed by throughout the season, had another top game for them, keeping West Brom's attackers quiet. And Swansea did have a couple of moves where they linked up well. You know, Brewster and AU had a couple of nice combinations between them. Brewster, a couple of chances fell his way. Same for West Brom as well. Their best chance of the game probably fell to Callum Robinson, but Woodman was level to it, and in the end the game just fizzled out to a goalless draw. And then we had another goalless draw going on between Wigan and Luton. Big game at the bottom of the Championship. Luton have lifted themselves off the bottom of the table, but there is still quite a mountain to climb for them for the rest of the season. Not the best game going on this weekend in terms of clear-cut chances. They were quite few and far between in this one. Wigan did dominate in terms of possession and getting into those attacking areas. They just couldn't do all too much with the ball when they were in the final third. Luton came with that game plan to look to frustrate Wigan away from home, and in the end they did that. You know, they stuck to their shape well and didn't really concede that many chances. The best chance of the game probably falling to, I think, Jacobs in the second half, but Sluga was level to it, getting down well to his left-hand side to stop them. Luton had a couple of chances here and there from set pieces, but apart from that in open play, they didn't really threaten throughout. Obviously, the disappointment from Wigan will be, you know, coming off the back of the high against West Brom, beating them away, to come back to the DW in this sort of crunch game, not to pick up all 3 points, but it could be worse with the run that they're on at the moment and the fact that Charlton and Hull have really dipped down in form recently. It's not the worst point in the world for Wigan. And then finishing it off with Sunday's game, which saw Derby beating Blackburn by 3-0. Now, Blackburn had the chance to go into the top 6 with Preston losing this weekend, but couldn't take advantage. And I mean, no one wants to finish in the playoffs this season. Preston have only won 1 of our last 5 matches, and yet we still remain 6th in the table. It's absolutely bonkers this season. And Derby aren't completely cut adrift to the top 6 after this result. Only 5 points in there. They do have quite a tough run in between now and the end of the season, but who knows? When I did see the initial lineups of both sides, I was a little bit nervous for this one for Derby. You know, they got a lot of young players in there. Wayne Rooney wasn't in the squad. Tom Lawrence as well. He's injured at the moment. So, but I mean, the young players really took full advantage and they were absolutely superb in this one. I mean, the opening goal from Sibley, oh my God, what a strike. Arrowing it into the top corner from outside the box. And the youth players that Derby have been promoting throughout the season really been thriving lately. You know, we spoke very highly about Bird on the channel so far. Knight as well in this game looked really good. Of course, Bogle, who we spoke about countless times on the channel as well. Chris Martin was able to grab the second goal of the game after Graham Shinney had an initial effort which was saved and parried by Walton. Martin was the man on the spot to make it 2-0. He then made it 3-0 in the second half, converting from the penalty spot after Knight had been fouled. Chris Martin now has 16 goal contributions this season. It's been an absolute second coming of Chris Martin this season. And then to make things worse for Blackburn, Buckley was sent off in stoppage time for quite a silly challenge really, but nothing went Blackburn's way today, and I don't think they can have too many complaints about it because Derby were just a better side. It was a brilliant 3 points for them. But there we have it. There was all the action that did go on this weekend. In terms of my result of the weekend, a lot of contenders this weekend, but I think I'm probably going to give it to Millwall. I didn't see that one coming against Forest. 3-0 away from home keeps them in the playoff push. Big result for them. And then for my goal of the weekend, there were some absolute crackers scored, but I think I'm going to have to give it to Sibley for that opener against Blackburn Rovers. It was an absolute thunderbolt. So let me know in the comments down below what you made of all of this weekend's action. But apart from that will now wrap it up for today's video. So if you did go on to enjoy, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. Make sure you do stay tuned for some regular Championship content. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.